Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the Answer Company. The Division Championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Access to Democracy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bill Raker, your host for today. I'm welcoming the guest that is really of interest to me, and I think will be to many of our viewers as well, Maddie Miller, who is the Grassroots Organizing Coordinator for Friends of the Mississippi River. We're going to learn something about Maddie, and then we're going to learn about Friends of the Mississippi River. We're going to be talking about advocating for the Mississippi River. So Maddie, welcome to Access to Democracy. We're so happy that you're joining us today. So let's start out by learning a little bit about you, what your role is, how you got into this job, how you prepared for it. We'll learn some things about you, and then we'll tell our viewers more about Friends of the Mississippi River as an organization and what it does. Maddie, what got you into this role that you're in with the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up just outside of the DC area, and that's where I really got my start in advocacy and learning about all of the different ways that you can show up and stand up for the things that you believe in, whether it was from going to the Women's March in DC or a lot of high school walkouts for protesting gun violence and things like that. I really realized fairly early on in high school that advocacy and politics and policy were things I was really interested in pursuing. And so I attended the University of Minnesota Twin Cities for my undergraduate degree, and I ended up graduating with a Bachelor of Individualized Studies in Political Science, Geography, and Environmental Science, Policy and Management. So I really took that passion for advocacy to my undergraduate degree. I got involved in student government as the Environmental Accountability Committee Director and did a lot of things at the University of Minnesota to continue my advocacy, especially through the lens of environmental policy. And so during my time there, I was really looking to continue my career in advocacy, and I'm actually Friends of the Mississippi River's very first organizer. So I'm the first. That's
exciting.
Yeah, I'm the very first person to hold this role. And so I manage our base of advocates and help build a lot of engagement opportunities. I'm the person who reaches out and says to message your representative, or other local decision maker about important issues that arise that are impacting the Mississippi River. And so I'm really a bridge between our policy work and our communications and engagement work. So, yeah.
Well, the way you describe your role and how you prepared for it really makes it obvious why you were a good selection to be the first person to serve in this capacity at the organization. And it's a really important one considering what Friends of the Mississippi River does. And so we want to learn some more about what Friends of the Mississippi River is. Tell us what that organization is. What's the mission?
Absolutely. So Friends of the Mississippi River's mission is to protect, enhance, and restore the Mississippi River in the Twin Cities metro area. That happens in a variety of ways, from our conservation and restoration efforts to policy work at the state and federal level to local levels especially, and working with our state agencies to work on things that are impacting the Mississippi River. And we also have a stewardship and education team, which works with a lot of youth and teaches them about important ways to steward the river for future generations as well. They do a lot of curriculum work with schools. And we have lots of volunteer opportunities as well to stencil storm drains to let people know that our storm drains drain to the river, to have rain barrels at your house, and how to have pollinator gardens and things like that. So there's a really wide array of how we interact with the Mississippi River, which is really cool.
Well, it's already more than I would have ever guessed
Sure.
that you're responsible for. And we'll talk some more about some of the projects and some of the things that you've been doing and how people can volunteer if they want to get involved. But let's start somewhat at the beginning. How did Friends of the Mississippi River get started? When was it organized? And tell us a little bit about the history of the organization.
Absolutely. So Friends of the Mississippi River just celebrated their 31st birthday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We were created to be an advocate for the Mississippi River, especially for the national park that actually exists right in the Twin Cities, the Mississippi National River and Recreation Area, which is part of the National Park Service. And so
I bet a lot of people don't know about that.
a lot of people don't know. And so we were created as an advocacy body to really advocate for the things that that stretch of the river needed. And it's just kind of grown exponentially since then.
Well, it is a nonprofit organization, right? Are there some things about Friends of the Mississippi River that distinguish it and make it quite different or unique from other types of organizations like that?
Yeah, I think we have a really unique and important role that we fill where we approach so many different issues through a very scientific lens and work with a lot of researchers to carry out different projects and are really integrated at so many different levels of the state government, local government, and even our involvement in issues at the federal level. And so we have this really diverse reach of how we interact with the river and how we advocate for it and steward it and conserve it and things like that. And so I think what makes us unique as well is we keep growing. Our team keeps getting bigger as well. And so we're able to take on more and more of these projects and interact with the river in a really wide variety of ways, which is really cool to be a part of.
Well, we'll see how many of those ways we can talk
Sure.
about in the time that we have here today, Maddie. The Mississippi River is a very long and large and well-known river. It goes through many states. And you already touched on this, but maybe you can explain a little bit more about it. What part of the river, the Mississippi River, is the organization really focused on or responsible for? I think you said the part that runs through the Twin Cities area.
Yes.
So where does that begin and where does that end in terms of boundaries?
You know, it's really subjective sometimes.
Okay.
We mainly work, our base is very much in the Twin Cities metro area, but we have conservation locations and things where we do that work further south, a little bit further north. And if you, from a policy perspective as well, want to take a step back and think about all of the downstream impacts of things that we do on the Mississippi River, that's also very interconnected with that. We do a lot of agricultural policy work as well, and that is very much centered around a lot of the downstream impacts that other states are feeling from especially the chemical inputs and fertilizers that are used for agriculture in the Midwest. And so we are actually part of something called the Mississippi River Network, and I serve on their engagement committee, and it brings together folks from lots of different river-based organizations up and down the entire stretch of the Mississippi River. And we connect and talk about different issues that we're facing, anywhere from Minnesota and the headwaters to Louisiana near the Gulf of Mexico. And so there is this metro base focus. A lot of what we do is very centered around the legislature and different issues that are impacting specific regional parks or things that are really adjacent to sites along the Mississippi River. But it does have a lot of downstream impacts and something that spans across a lot of the country.
Well, considering the scope of what it is that you are tending around the river, I have to ask, excuse me, is the organization state chartered or is it federally chartered from an organization standpoint?
So we have received state and federal funding, kind of depending on the project. We also are largely funded by grants and other sources like that, as well as individual gifts and things. So it really depends on the team and the specific project that you're working on.
So whatever the project is kind of an indication of where you go to get support and the kind of funding that you're looking for and where that funding originates. So over the 31-year history of Friends of the Mississippi River, can you share with us a few of the milestones or major accomplishments that this wonderful organization has been able to achieve for us?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of things that FMR has accomplished over the years. I've only been in this role for about 2.5 years, and so I've actually been fortunate enough to witness and be a really big part of a major milestone that we crossed quite recently, where we secured funding for an invasive carp deterrent down in Winona at Lock and Dam 5, which again is a little bit outside of the Mississippi River in the Twin Cities metro area. But that was a really major milestone that is from over a decade's worth of work at this point. And it's really exciting to be a part of that and to see such important change happen in just 2 years of working here. And so we advocated a few years ago to close the Upper St. Anthony Falls Lock to prevent the spread of invasive carp up into the headwaters, where with that lock being open, the fish that can grow up to 40 pounds and you see them jumping out of the water and hitting people in the face.
Invasive fish.
Yes, they have been making their way upstream the Mississippi River for years now and are as close as southern Minnesota at this point. And so we were really concerned about their reaching the headwaters of the Mississippi River and all of the other connected bodies of water. And so we had the lock closed a few years back and have been working since to secure funding for a deterrent, which we call the disco fence, where it uses sound and bubbles and lights and things like that underwater within a lock chamber so that the carp don't want to cross it. And we've worked with researchers for years on this to know that this is the best option that we have right now to really combat this fish and the really harmful impacts it has on the ecosystem. And so we last year went to the legislature asking for money to fund this deterrent and a study on it. and only got part of the funding. And then this year, we were able to get a full $12 million to actually get this project started so that we can take action as soon as possible. And so that was a really, really incredible project to be a part of. And advocacy was a really, really key point in getting decision makers and state legislators involved in this project and understanding that so many people really care about this issue and are really concerned about all of the impacts it would have, not only on the ecosystem, but the way that you completely change how you recreate on the river. You know, if you're if you're on your boat and you're going to get hit by a 40-pound fish, that's going to send you straight to the hospital.
That would spoil your day on the river, I'm sure.
A little bit.
So this project, it's important and exciting to learn that this project is now funded and ready to go, which is a segue to the question I wanted to ask. What are a couple of the projects, other than this one, that you have underway or that you're planning or projecting for the next year or two? Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. So one of the big projects that I'm going to be working on over the next few months is about a hazardous waste pile that's been left on the banks of the Mississippi River right in St. Paul. Ford Motor Company, which used to have their manufacturing plant right by the Highland neighborhood, and no longer, the manufacturing plant no longer exists there. They dumped industrial waste off the side of the bluff and onto this floodplain for the Mississippi River for, I think, between 1945 and 1966, before we had things like the Clean Water Act. And everything from sludge to solvents to paint to barrels of things and chemicals that we don't even know what's in some of them. It was all being dumped right on the Mississippi River and then covered with construction debris and other cement and things like that. But it's been left behind. Ford Motor Company isn't there anymore. You know, they don't have that manufacturing plant, and they've left this hazardous waste pile behind. And so there's actually a comment period that's beginning with the Pollution Control Agency and Ford doing a feasibility study about what they should do to clean up this pile. And we anticipate that it's unlikely Ford is going to recommend doing a full cleanup of the site because it's expensive, and you know, there might be things that they say there's not chemicals and other things leaking out of it. But at the same time, we also think it's unacceptable that a large multi-billion-dollar international corporation leaves a hazardous waste pile right on the Mississippi River and isn't held accountable for that. And so right now we're beginning a lot of the engagement for that process and making sure people know about it and are engaged for when the comment period comes up and when there's a public meeting, and making sure that they get a chance to really advocate to get this pile cleaned up.
Let's talk a little bit about that. If you're looking for public comment, public input, where would our viewers go? Just go to the FMR website, and there's a place there where they can have input to how important this project is and why we need to get this done?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to fmr.org/Ford, and that's where we have a whole suite of information about this site. We've been working on it for a while and have finally gotten to this point where people are going to get to weigh in. And so we have a timeline of and history of the site. We have updates about where things are at now in the process, and that's where we'll be regularly updating and providing the materials so that people can weigh in when the time is right and the comment period opens.
Well, we hope you get all of the support and all of the funding you need to get this project done. And Maddie, looking forward, I'm thinking about inviting you back sometime when that project is underway or done, and you can give us an update on that. So given all of the things that FMR does, the aspirations that they have, let's talk about how you go about getting this done. How many paid staff people and how many volunteers are engaged in the work that you do?
Sure. So at the moment, I believe we have 24 full-time staff. And then we also we distinguish a little bit between our base of advocates and our volunteers. Our volunteers are largely the people who show up to pull garlic mustard and buckthorn and do other types of cleanups and things like that. And our advocates are the ones who usually weigh in on these different issues and show up to legislative hearings and other community meetings and things like that. And there's overlap there. But for our base of advocates, we have about 1,800 people who consistently weigh in with us, which is really excellent. And for the base of volunteers that we have a little over 800.
That's a lot of people, a lot of people interested in what FMR's mission is. So what are the different ways that people, our viewers, can support FMR?
Lots of ways. Signing up for a different volunteer event is a great way if you're interested in hands-on work and things like that. We try to offer a really wide variety of activities in a range of different places at different sites along the Mississippi River so that there's greater access and so that people who live in different parts of it also get to interact with us and with the river in that way. I think advocating and taking action with us is also a really excellent way to stay involved. I try to provide as many opportunities and make it as easy as possible to be involved with advocacy. It can feel really daunting and really confusing a lot of the time. And so we try and bridge that gap between state agencies or other folks that are doing engagement efforts around an issue that we're working on. And we make sure that our base is really informed and knowledgeable about what they're going to be weighing in on, and that they feel equipped enough to, leave comments and call the representative or do things like that. And so I also provide a lot of opportunities to learn about different issues we're working on, and I try to host a range of them as well so it can be as accessible as possible, from weeknight evenings to Saturday mornings to things that are right in your neighborhood to things that we make it a little bit easier by providing food or other things so that you can join us at the state capitol. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Those kinds of activities that you were talking about, we can see individuals involved in them and engaged in the advocacy works. Are there other organizations and agencies that FMR relies on or partners with for what you do?
Yeah, we are really fortunate to have such a wonderful array of partners. We work really closely with Wakan Tipi Wanyagapi, which is a Native-led organization in the Twin Cities, who's doing a lot of really incredible work that we partner with them on, things from environmental justice to restoration efforts at different sites that we both work on close to the river. We also partner with Owamni Omni Okarayapi, which is another Native-led organization formerly known as Friends of the Falls, and they do a lot of advocacy around the Upper St. Anthony Falls area right over there as well. So kind of anchoring almost the two metro area parts of the Mississippi River by those organizations. We also work with Mississippi Park Connection, which is kind of a branch of the National Park Service. So we do volunteer and restoration events with them as well. And then there's a lot of partnerships that we have with the National Parks Conservation Association and other researchers and professors at the University of Minnesota or McAllister, and other folks who are really knowledgeable about different issues that we're working on and are really engaged in that process as well. And then, of course, with state agencies like the DNR and the Pollution Control Agency or the Army Corps, and staying involved in projects they're working on that impact the Mississippi River and making sure that we also can be a bridge from their processes to our base of advocates as well. So
you said early on that part of your role is to help educate the community, the public, about Friends of the Mississippi River and what your objectives are. So you're out and about and being as visible as you can. What are some of the events that our public might go to where they would find you or other representatives of FMR?
There's a range, I would say. Anything from a neighborhood association event to other community advisory boards that are weighing in on different issues related to the Mississippi River. We're at the state legislature a lot, so different hearings that have to do with policy that focuses on the Mississippi River or would impact it in some way. We also are outside a lot. You can probably find us on the river, especially during the summer. I've actually had the chance to paddle on the river twice already this summer, which is really incredible. And it's such a different experience to have being on the water than just kind of walking alongside it or walking above it in a lot of situations. And so we try and also balance those indoor events as much as possible with getting close to the river and hopefully being on the river in a lot of cases. So you can usually find us on some sort of boat at some point over the summer on the Mississippi River as well.
What about social media? Does the organization have presence on the different media platforms?
We do. We have Instagram, Twitter or X, Facebook, and we're working on making a TikTok account, but it's a little slow rolling to get that started. So we use all of those platforms as a way to also reach out to people. I think digital advocacy is also a really important aspect of our work, and I try and use that as a means to broaden our reach in a lot of ways and let people know about events that we have coming up, and make those little Instagram infographics where you can swipe through them and learn in 30 seconds about an issue that we're working on and have a really easy link to click so that you can weigh in immediately after that. So,
how many followers does FMR have?
oh my gosh, I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know how many people really stay in touch and follow what's going on with the organization. Well, Maddie, what's the biggest challenge that you have in your role?
That's a great question.
As an advocate.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges is that there's always more that we can be doing, and it's really hard sometimes to stop and celebrate and just enjoy the work that you've done and the partnerships and relationships that you've built, and just feel really good about the impacts that you're making, whether small or large. And so I think that's an inherent challenge in working with advocacy is, you have this huge win and you're so excited that you finally crossed this huge milestone and made this huge accomplishment, and then it's like, okay,
yeah,
there's more to
next
do.
One, yeah, next
one.
project, next challenge.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Maddie, a lot more to learn about Friends of the Mississippi River. As we wrap up here on the last minute or so, is there anything more, any other message that you'd like to leave with our viewers about what they need to know, what they could possibly do to help keep our Mississippi River healthy?
Sure. That's a big message to leave. I think really
we have 1 minute.
Oh my gosh, I'll try and wrap it up. I think it's so important to really be aware and cognizant of your relationship to the river and your context and place, and all of the ways that you either do connect with the river or maybe you don't, and maybe you don't live close to it and there's no bike lanes or bus stops or other things that make it easy for you to get to the river. A lot of people don't know, like we said at the beginning, that it's a national park. And so really thinking about how you can connect with it and doing anything, whether small by just picking up one piece of trash that otherwise would have gone into the river, to taking action with us at the legislature to advocate is
Picking
huge.
up that one little piece of trash is the note that we'll close on.
Sure.
Our guest here on Access to Democracy has been Maddie Miller, who's with Friends of the Mississippi River, and we're delighted to learn some more about Friends of the Mississippi River. Thank you, Maddie, for joining us and for sharing with us your engagement with the organization.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Access to Democracy.